So in the 1800s, there was a guy who wanted everything in the world. And he had almost all of it. The one thing he didn't have is real estate. Now, the two other experts in here are going to teach you about real estate. But this one guy didn't have anything, yet he had all the wealth in the world. He was a guy that would walk into the room, you'd look at him and say, man, I want to be him. Or the ladies would say, I want to be with him. He had everything, yet he didn't have real estate. And one day he gets a letter in the mail from the king, the wealthiest king at the time. And the letter said, you're going to have an opportunity to come to my kingdom and get land. I'm going to teach you how to get it. Not only am I going to teach you how to get it, I'm going to give you the opportunity to have some of mine. So excited, he takes off across the country to go visit this king. And as he approaches the castle, he gets very, very excited. And the doors open up, the most extravagant thing you can imagine. And he goes all the way down the corridor. The king is sitting at a table about 60 feet long. He sits down and they have dinner. And over dinner, the king says, you're going to have the opportunity tomorrow morning to go out and acquire some of my land completely for free. So the deal is you're going to wake up tomorrow morning and every piece of land that you can physically touch will be yours as long as you get back to the castle by the time the sun sets. So he goes to bed, or at least he goes to his room, but so excited he can't actually sleep that night. So as the sun rises, he gets out and starts off on his journey. He takes off and he starts running, and he's running, and he's running, and he's running. Have you guys ever run like on the beach and you're like, now I got to go back to where I started, right? And so he realizes that he had run so far that to get back to where he needed to go, he was going to have to pick up his pace. And so he starts jogging back, and then he's jogging back, and the sun is setting over the hill. He dives on the ground. And he comes up a few feet before that finish line. Exhausted, he's lying there, and he actually dies on the ground. So the staff comes out, not knowing what to do. They cut a 6-foot by 3-foot hole in the ground and bury him right there. So at the end of his life, the number one thing he wanted was what?
Real estate.
He only needed 6 feet by 3 feet of what? Real estate. So the question becomes, as we sit here tonight, what is the one thing that you want more than anything? What are you willing to die for in order to make that become a reality? Or do you have to kill yourself in order to get it? So, my journey, becoming an entrepreneur. I started as a teacher in 7th and 8th grade in Maryland, in one of the wealthiest counties in all of the United States. Yet the dichotomy of my school was that half of them were from very wealthy families, and the other half was from very impoverished families. So as a teacher, I loved people. I loved when students would come into my classroom because I could sit with them one-on-one and mentor and coach them. The pace at which we had to teach kids this no child left behind philosophy, children were getting further and further left behind. And so what I loved is mentoring, coaching, and training them, again, at a 7th and 8th grade level, not just on how to solve Pythagorean theorem, right, which is what we were teaching in the classroom, but what do they do when their parents are keeping them up all night because they're beating each other or because they're being thrown bottles at? So at that time, I realized that I had to make a difference in the world, and that is what my driving force is. So the question somebody asked earlier is it all about money? Absolutely not. Money helps you do other things. But as you sit here tonight, you think about if I lost it all, what would drive me? What would motivate and encourage me and inspire me to keep going? That's what you want to hold right here as we talk. Is that cool? Perfect. So what happened is I read a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. How many of you are familiar with this? How many of you have never heard of this? Okay, perfect. So being a graduate with a 3.5 from a good university, not quite Harvard, but I did graduate from Virginia Tech, loved it. My 4 years were amazing. And loving academia is what actually wanted me to go aspire to be a teacher. Yet when I read this book, it had a complete paradigm shift from looking at a quarter and saying, okay, if I see heads, what do you guys see? Okay, you see tails, but you're crazy. I see heads, right? The only thing I can see on a quarter is what? Until I turn it over. So this book is what completely shifted my world upside down. The philosophy of this book is that you can make money, right? Working a 9 to 5, the old school methods, or you can do what these speakers are talking about, own businesses, manage people, and sit back and have money work for you. Does that make sense? Yeah? Total different thing. So that's when I stopped teaching and started really teaching. I was teaching something I became passionate about, but I didn't know how the heck to do it. So that's what I'm going to explain today and tie in some principles as we go about how to make that possible. Cool? Who wants a free copy of Think and Grow, or Rich Dad Poor Dad? You're the first one. So after reading that book, I decided, okay, I got to figure out how to do this. I decided that real estate was going to be my avenue because all the wealthy people I knew did what? Real estate. I was like, okay, that's easy. I'll just go do it, right? I fell on my face over and over and over and over again. I finally had some success. What happened is I moved from Maryland all the way across the country, 3,500 miles, didn't know anybody, no job, no income, with a girl who I thought I was going to get married to. When you move in together, things change. Do you guys agree? Okay? Especially when you're 3,500 miles from your comfort zone and everything you know and everything you've ever known, from your friends to your family to your support system. I moved out in June of 2009. That Thanksgiving, I flew home. She stayed out there with her sister. And on the Saturday after Thanksgiving, I get a call, and I pick it up excited. Wow, I get to talk to my girlfriend. And out of her mouth were the words, when you come back, everything will be out of the apartment. We shouldn't be together anymore. Wow. So now it's been 3 months since we moved out there. Now I'm deciding, do I stay in Maryland where I know people and I'm comfortable, or do I fly back across the country and try to figure out what the heck we should do as a couple, knowing that I'm not going to have anything in the apartment because I didn't have anything, and the one person I thought that was going to be there to support me during my entire life was no longer there. So I get in a plane, fly back, hoping that when I open the door, she's going to be there. And surprise, joking, right? No. When I opened it, everything was gone, and I felt as empty as the apartment was. But as we just talked about, it's all perspective. That's when I realized that people come and go, money will come and go. None of those are important. Not to say that they're not. The important thing is the relationship that you have with who? Yourself. Because you're stuck with yourself for the rest of your life. Or you're blessed to be with yourself for the rest of your life. So I started deciding that I had to become the best Lane that I could be. The first book that I picked up at that point was a book called Think and Grow Rich. How many of you are familiar with that? Love it. You got some claps, right? Think and Grow Rich. Has anyone not read it? Okay, perfect. I challenge you to read it. And if you haven't noticed, we might be giving some books away today. The beginning part of Think and Grow Rich is about a guy, R.U. Darby, who goes from Maryland, coincidentally, to California. Sounds like my story. But I had no idea what the story is about or who this guy was. Yet when I picked it up and I learned that the only difference between me and him was where my mindset was. You see, he went 3,500 miles across to strike rich during the gold strike and didn't have much luck. He sold his machinery to a junk man, moved back to Maryland with enough money to basically get back and break even. Yet this junk man decided to do what, for those of you who read it? Hire, yes, somebody who had counsel, as Mark was talking about earlier, on the difference between just going out and digging for gold versus going to a spot in which there may be some gold. Make sense? Makes sense. So what he does is he hires this junk man. The junk man says, let's go back to where this guy struck gold. I have a feeling that we'll make some. And of course, the novice says, why would we do that? He's already been there. The junk man says, well, gold goes north-south. So what this guy did is he struck this way. They went north-south, and what happened? The biggest gold strike ever that still fills Fort Knox today. So the whole concept is, whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, he can achieve. And you guys understand this. Yet when you have difficult times, what happens? Everything switches to negative thoughts. I can't do that. I am not worthy. I don't have what it takes to be successful. So how many of you that have not read this would like a free copy? First one, there you go. So what ended up happening is I picked up another book. Remember, in 2009. It was a book called 3 Feet from Gold. How many of you have heard of this book? Not as many, okay? It's amazing. He's a jerk. Yeah. Just for the first chapter. And what ends up happening is this was taken from the beginning of that story in Think and Grow Rich, And he is 3 feet from
Gold.
So what is the gold in your life? I cannot answer that for you. What I can answer is how you are going to get it and the principles that you need in order to make that happen. So again, remember, no job, no income, no girlfriend, no idea what the heck I'm doing. I do know one thing, that I'm broke at this moment in my life, but I'm not broken. How many of you guys understand that about yourself?
Yeah.
And if somebody has been telling you your whole life that you are, get rid of them.
Yep.
They're not worth your time, energy, or effort to be around. Okay? So what I did is I decided, hey, I am free from gold. I don't even know what gold is yet, but I went out and bought a yardstick. And I carried this everywhere for 9 months. First dates? Yep. I didn't get many second dates, but I had a lot of first dates. Although it did turn into my shtick, and people wondered why I had a yardstick and not a ruler, so it did work to my benefit at some point. Grocery store, yes. What ended up happening is I started investing in some real estate and flipping houses based on somebody that was teaching me now how to do it. So in the beginning, no idea what to do. Now somebody's showing me how to do it, and I had enough success that I was invited to speak at a conference, teaching people and offering the opportunity to buy a student package for us to teach how to flip houses. Speaking at this event, never talking about the yardstick unless somebody asked, a group of guys comes up afterward and says, what's the deal with the yardstick? And I said, well, I read this book called 3 Feet from Gold, and it completely changed my life. And the 5 guys look around at me, and one guy reaches out his hand. What's your name?
Sam.
Sam. My name is Greg Reed, and I actually wrote the book 3 Feet from Gold. So now I'm meeting the author of the book that completely changed my life. Yet, did he have any idea that I existed on the face of this earth? No. But the impact that he had in my life and continues to have in my life, and the impact of the millions of people we're going to affect because of this one book, with the hunger that I have, as he was talking about earlier, life-changing. So I know that I'm 3 feet from gold. I haven't hit gold yet. I've hit gold in a lot of different things. But gold comes and goes. And once you've reached them, then what? You want more of it. Or you want to spread it. So how many of you would like a copy of 3 Feet from Gold? Beautiful. What ends up happening is that author, Greg, becomes my friend. We start playing tennis, and we got to write a national best-selling book with, how many of you are familiar with Les Brown? Yes, gotta be hungry, right? How many know Brian Tracy, Eat That Frog? Boom. Yes. So I got to write a national best-selling book as a teacher from Maryland with 3 of the most prominent people in the personal development world. This book has opened up doors. This book is actually probably why I'm speaking at Harvard today. So the
Brian Tracy was on it with you.
Exactly. And that's the key, and that's what I want to talk about next. Okay? Because you're absolutely right. Because Lane isn't anybody compared to a Brian Tracy or a Greg Reed in that realm. I'm way better than him at being Lane Ethridge, I'll tell you that. Make sense? You're the only person that can be you. And that's reality. So how many want a free copy? Boom. Okay? So Mark just brought up a great point, and I want to hit on this. The success formula. And if you're writing notes, take it. This does not come from me. This comes from Greg Reed and Sharon Lechter in that book, 3 Feet from Gold. How many of you are familiar with Sharon Lechter? If you look on the cover of 3 Feet from Gold, what's the name on it? Sharon Lechter. And what about who got Rich Dad, Poor Dad? Sharon Lechter. Sharon Lechter co-wrote a lot of these books. She was the door opener, just like Greg was for me, for these individual aspiring authors. Now, do you guys understand there's a difference between a writer and an author? Nobody wants to be a writer. The writer's name's somewhere in the book on whatever. The author's where? Boom, right on the front cover, right? There's a big difference between that, but here's the formula if you're writing this down. And this is the key to everything that I can share right now. And we'll teach about some other principles pending the time. It's P plus T times A squared plus F equals success. Now again, I was a math teacher, so I can ramble that off pretty quick. Break it down. P plus T times A squared. You're a math girl, huh? She's like, yeah, I've already done algorithms. I already know what the heck's going on, right? Plus F equals success. So one of the gentlemen asked the other speaker, well, is it money only? No. P, whatever you're going to go after with all you've got to have what? Passion. If you're not passionate about what you do, you're broke, or you will become broke, because it becomes way too difficult to make things happen. Now, it doesn't mean that you're going to walk out of this room tonight and say, that speaker was awesome. And when you guys give me a standing ovation at the end saying, wow, that guy was really good, right? I'm not going to have your answer about what you're passionate about. I don't know you well enough, but what I know about you is that you've got a passion. Right? Then what is a T going to be?
Time.
Time is a great one, but it's talent. You got to be good at what you do. Doesn't mean you have to be born with those gifts. You have to work hard at developing the skills to become good at that gift. What's the next day? Action. Yes. Law of attraction is great. I got to meet Greg Reed that opened up all the doors through law of attraction. Law of attraction just means what you put out in the world will eventually become true if that's what you believe. Yet the reality is you can't sit on the couch as a single guy and expect the phone to ring, right? Now we've got internet dating, which makes it easier, so you can be a creep behind the computer, right? But they're still not going to come over to your door, knock on it, and say, I want to take you to Ruth's Chris. No. You got to go out there, put yourself in the world and into situations where you have an opportunity to meet somebody. So you have to take action. The second A is the biggest key. I may be it for you. Alan may be it for you. Mark is certainly it for you, at least to this point. It's association. How many of you guys knew who Carrie Underwood was before American Idol? Nobody. The association she had with American Idol put her on the map. But did she have passion? Heck yeah. Is she talented?
Very.
And beautiful? Even though it's not in the formula? Yes. And married to a hockey player, so she likes sports. It's like check, 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 right? I'm finding her. She's somewhere out there, right? But the association of American Idol completely changed her life. And then the faith, the F, that she had that it was going to happen at some point, sometime, somewhere. How many of you know what you're passionate about?
Yeah.
How many of you are making money in your passion yet?
Yeah.
Yes.
Good. You'll find that most people that are making money are passionate about what they do. It wasn't always that way, though. Most of the times they fell on their face to realize what they weren't passionate about, struggling, frustrated, and then they realized, wow, why am I pulling my own teeth and hair out, not making money? You know, if you're not going to make money, why not at least be happy and have fun, right?
Yeah.
But if you're going to do both, you might as well make money having a lot of fun. Making sense? Okay. What happened for me? Prior to all this stuff happened, when I was first in San Diego, they talked about, what do you do when you've lost it all? Well, I never had anything in the beginning. So I want to talk about the same principles and what is true, not having anything, and then when you haven't, lose it, it's the same principle, right? What I did is I decided that I loved sports and I loved being outdoors. San Diego is a great place to do that, right? So I went to Rancho Santa Fe, which is the wealthiest part of San Diego, which happens to be one of the wealthiest cities in the US, which means it's one of the wealthiest cities in what? All the world. And I decided that I was going to caddy for golfers at a very fancy club. Because I could carry bags. I'm strong, right? I wanted a free workout, but I wanted to be around people that could afford a $30,000 membership and then double that to be a member every year, just to hit a golf ball around. You guys understand what I'm saying? At the end of the rounds, I would just simply say, look, I don't need your money. I did, believe me. I needed double what they were going to give me. But what I got from their knowledge, their expertise, their counsel, as Mark was saying, was way more valuable than ever before. And just because I didn't want their money, they would actually tip me double. So I was making more money than getting the counsel, the knowledge, and the expertise from these people, and then they would invite me after for a cocktail, so I got a free beer too, which was amazing. It's all about leverage, right? Got to leverage everything you're doing. So I don't know where you are right now, but whatever avenue you want to go down. How many of you know with an undeniable thirst for what you've got going on, but you're not making money with it yet? What do you love to do? Import-export. Do you know anybody in that industry? Are you around them? There you go. The one thing you can do, take the action, figure out how to get in touch with them. If you don't know, start networking. Your network is what? Your net worth. Okay? So you have to start asking, who can I figure out will get me to meet this person? I love music. Not very good at it, but I love it. And Jay-Z is one of the guys that I admire a lot for his musical ability, but also for what? His business savvy. The guy's genius, right? Even raps about it, how good he is. I want to meet Jay-Z. So if any of you guys have an introduction to somebody that might be able to get me to go jet skiing with Jay-Z, is one of my, there you go. Boom, see? There you go. So by putting it out to the world, doors will open. One of my favorite books, the Bible. Matthew 7:7 says, ask and you shall receive, seek and you shall find. Knock and the door will be opened. Guys, the doors are out there. All you have to do is start knocking. That's it. Sometimes they will get shut in your face, and it'll hurt. Sometimes the door will be open to opportunities you have no idea where they will lead. Before I made my first dollar in San Diego, broke, confused, I went down to Torrey Pines, because if you're upset and you go to Torrey Pines, life is still good. I don't know if you guys have been there, but it's beautiful. And I'm walking along the beach, and I literally get down on my hands and knees and start praying. Of course, stupidly, I put my head down too fast and put my eye on a rock. And it really, really hurt, bruised instantaneously. Picked up this rock frustrated. I said, I'm going to just throw this thing in the ocean. I got a pretty good arm, right? Probably wasn't going to go very far anyway. So I started to hurl this thing, and I said, stupid rock, my eye hurts, rock, eye. And I was like, man, I rock. I rock. I rock, right? And that was the first time in my life I really, no matter what my circumstances were, I believe with all I've got that I was worth more than anybody could ever tell me, worth more than I would ever make in a single dollar, as long as I knew the value that I had in this world. So I carry that rock pretty much everywhere I go, because it's a physical reminder that I'm worth way more than that gold. So the question becomes, guys, is money important to you? And if it is, great, go get it. It's not that hard. You've got mentors that can teach you how to do that in this room. The one thing I would challenge you to do is find a mentor, a coach, or a system that you can plug into and break that learning curve from having to go figure it out on your own. The industry I'm in right now is growing so fast. I've done real estate. Obviously, you can make money in that. Investments, obviously, you can make money in that. Direct selling, obviously, you can make money in that. That's the industry I've chosen to make my millions in. Mainly because my mom is a 26-year breast cancer survivor, and the products that she's been on for 18 years have completely helped her out. My mom is my why. She's the reason I get up excited about life, because she's beat this cancer. She's created a legacy for me and my brothers that will continue to pay when she's gone. How blessed is that? So the reality becomes, it's not what you're going to do for yourself. It's for what are you going to do for yourself to have enough, as Les Brown says, fill your cup up full enough that what pours over you can give to others. As Zig Ziglar says, you can only get what you want by helping enough people get what they want. That's what business is.
And expect nothing in return.
There you go. So one thing that changed when my world was upside down, it was about who? Me. And when I realized that me flipped upside down becomes we, that's when everything changed for me. If you guys are living your life selfishly, you're never going to get where you want to go. You have to open up your heart, become selfless, so that you can have what you want. But sometimes you have to draw that line in the sand and say, you know what? I'm going to be selfish. For the next year, I'm going to do whatever the heck I need to do. I'm going to save $100,000 because that will allow me the opportunity to go fund that orphanage in Mexico. Or maybe you're in a relationship right now that is breaking your heart. They're the worst person you could be around, yet you're holding on to that because you hope and dream that they'll change. Let it go. You can only receive things in your hand when what? It's open. If you're holding on to something that's a cancer in your life, you cannot receive. When it comes to money, my biggest struggle was holding on to what I had. And when I was holding so tight onto that, what happened? I'm on film, what can I say? Right? You open up the opportunity to receive. So, I know each one of you guys in here has the ability to break through that gold. How many of you guys are ready for it?
Yeah.
How many of you know that in the next 30 days your life could completely and radically change?
All right.
I lost 60 pounds
Good job.
10 years ago in 9 months. Okay? Things can happen very quickly if you're willing to do the action behind what you say you want. Habits are so important. So you got to look at what your habits are. You got to start looking at the things that you're doing, and are they affecting and helping you get where you want to go, or are they putting you further away from it? Saved by the bell, baby. So Q&A, what can I do to help you guys out? And before I take Q&A, if you want to text, Lane is my first name, to 55678. I will send you guys something. So all you have to do is just text Lane, L-A-N-E, to 55678. I'm not going to blast you and start spamming you with a bunch of junk. I will offer the opportunity just to have a conversation or a Skype meeting or whatever you guys want. If I can open up doors for you with the connections I've got, great. If I can help you and you want to start doing whatever, great. I understand we have boundaries here, right? And I don't want to cross those. But at the same time, I didn't travel 3,500 miles across the country to not help you guys. So 30 minutes is not enough to change your life. Yet hopefully something I said, will lead you in the direction of changing your own. Questions? Thoughts? Comments? Photo ops? Come on, baby. We just learned we got to market. Let's go. And nobody has any questions.
I got a question.
Go.
Let's just say hypothetically, I'm a Harvard student, above average intelligence. I got $5 grand, and I have mentors in MLM, investments, internet marketing, real estate, and I'm equally passionate about all of it. Well, what should I do? Where should I put my money? Should I put it where I think it's the best mentor, or
Should I give you my bank account or my social? No, I'm just kidding. I think you should sit down with somebody from each of those industries, find out which one you become more passionate about, and or who you trust enough to help you start.
Okay.
And it depends on where you are as well. So if you don't have the base knowledge for anything, I like particular industries to help you learn up here what you need for anything. The reality is that the other two speakers, we could pretty much go into any industry and make money. I don't care what it is, because they have the skill set, the mindset, right? And the work ethic to be able to make money no matter where they are. So I can't answer that. I think I'd have to sit down with the individual person. And if I can't do it, the other thing you're talking about, you got to be selfless, guys. We all want money, believe me. If I don't think that it's best interest for you to join like what I'm doing, I'll tell you, it's not worth your time, man. You don't have what it takes. Come back to me in a year. Go read these 3 books. If you come back in a year and you've read those 3 books, do I want to work with you at that point? Heck yeah, because you've showed that you have what it takes to listen to somebody that can help you do it. Cool?
That's like the big secret. Get a mentor.
Would you agree, Alan?
Absolutely.
And Alan, I don't know Alan. I know he's made a lot of money, so I'm going to ask
Lost
him.
a lot too.
There you go.
We take it with a grain of
Take it with a grain of salt. Yeah, I just think mentors, they break the learning curve on what you need to do.
They turn decades into days.
Which, that's the hope, right? So any other questions, thoughts, concerns, frustrations? Yeah.
There's a lot of college students here, myself included.
Okay.
I think as a college student, you're focused on your studies
Yes.
and internships and stuff like that. But how do you sort of extend that passion outwards, outside of your studies in ways that would continue to propel you forward in like more of an unorthodox way?
What is your passion? Yours personally?
Aviation.
Okay. So do you want to own planes? Do you want to own an entire airline? Like, what do you want to do with it?
Something like that. I mean, it's still, that passion is in its infancy.
Okay. I would start hanging around those people, really and truly, and start learning from them now. Because you can still learn how to get good grades at Harvard, right? I hate to say this, no matter what university you're at, it's not a direct correlation with your GPA versus what you're going to make. It's just not. I mean, how many of you guys know Drake? Okay, rapper? So, I'll use a different analogy. How many of you guys know Justin Bieber? Is that guy, I don't know how smart he is, but he doesn't have a college degree, I know, because he's not old enough.
Drake is smarter.
Okay, so whoever's smarter, it doesn't matter. Bieber doesn't even have a college education, only because he's not old enough, right? So my point is, you can make a ton of money without an education. You got to be good at what you're in and what industry you're in with, but if you look at Bieber and Drake, they use that success formula, right? Still the same thing. Passion plus talent, action, association, and faith that you're going to do it. Does that help?
Yeah.
So keep studying. I'm not telling you guys to drop out of college, okay? If I could go back and do it again, I don't know that I would go to school. Because 4 years committed to real estate or direct selling or investing, think about it. I mean, you could be $200,000 plus, right? In other words, no student loans, and hopefully you will have made that much money too. I'm not saying to not continue your education. I'm just saying start being aware, get an education while you're getting an education. One last question, then I got to wrap it up, I think. Did you have one as well, sir?
Well, just to say, I agree with what you said about synergy and putting it out there. It comes back. You can align yourself with whoever you want. You have power.
Whatever you reap, you sow, right?
Yeah, that means that
And as I finish the last thought, that's true in whatever you're going to do. So whether it's your faith, whether it's your finances, whether it's relationships, you know, whatever if you're in a relationship and you're always me, that relationship is going to die. If you're in business and it's me, it's going to die.
You can
Yes.
take 2 more.
Okay, perfect.
Is,
All right, 3 more.
is the yardstick just a prop that you brought for this talk, or are you still carrying around?
Because it looks new.
Yeah, no, I went to Staples this morning for this one. Actually, the cool story is they auctioned it off. We raised money for the one that I was carrying around and donated it to the Napoleon Hill Foundation because I really did carry it for 9 months. And Greg knew when he was approaching me, because my vice president said, this guy's been carrying a yardstick because of your book for 9 months. So he knew who I was just because I had this. It was all torn and beat up and all that kind of stuff. So but Greg signed it, sent it to the Napoleon Hill Foundation. But what happened is I was at breakfast about 2 months after I met Greg. And my uncle and aunt were in town from New York, and I told him the whole story because Greg was sitting, a couple tables over, and my uncle sent me a tape measure that said 3 feet away. So I still have that on my keychain that I carry every single way. My car's back in San Diego, so I don't even have a car out here. But yeah, last one, and good question. Here you go. Would you rather have the ruler?
Don't throw the ruler.
I won't throw it. We'll give this one away for the last something. Yeah.
The role of luck in your success.
Luck. I think faith is a better word than luck, personally. I've got an undying faith in both my faith and faith in what I do. So I believe that that's a huge proponent of it. I'll tell you this, the only reason I've had success and will continue having success, and I asked Greg, by the way, I'm Greg's vice president now, right? So he actually was like, and I asked him, I was like, why did you invite me to be your vice president of his company? And he's like, because you just always showed up. And I was like, you're right. So one secret, as I wrap up, is if you want to be around somebody, show up where you know they're going to be. I knew everywhere Greg was speaking. And what events were I at? Those. And he probably thought I was like this crazy guy that was at every single event. And I had to because I had to make connections. But I was specifically at all of his because I wanted to be around him, right? And now Les Brown, same thing. Like wherever he is, I'm like, hey, buddy. I got to pick him up, I got to pick him up from the airport because I had that opportunity. And now I'm in a cell phone. It's just like, so it's not luck, it's putting yourself in a situation where you can get lucky. How about that? Cool? So I will be around. Thank you guys, you're awesome.